Hi, good morning. This is Dana Didolf, and I'm looking at a couple of big ships in the fall sunshine outside my window here on the Columbia River in Astoria, Oregon. Um, you know, I've been thinking a lot lately about this stuff, and particularly when we've been talking about dream states and addiction and codependence and how they sort of slide between your brain and your eyes and alter what's in front of you in the room. This happens to people regularly. It's like invisible transparencies that contain emotions and maps of the past, but you can't really see them. It's sort of like they seem so real. Interestingly, the dreams of addiction have a lot to do with the body and a lot to do with assumptions about what to do with distress that registers in the body. And so I don't have long this morning, but I just wanted to tell you a little tool, a little imaginative tool, a little dream tool that you could use to help yourself with emotional distress the next time. It could be with insomnia even, or anxiety or fear. Well, maybe anxiety and fear are sort of the same, anger. The important thing is that we all have emotional distress. We all have things we would rather not feel. And mostly, we respond to feelings with a sense of helplessness sometimes. And so whatever takes them away, not all feelings, of course, but the feelings that we particularly don't like, well, often what takes them away makes the need for them much worse. So one of the things that can really help you stay out of the dreams of addiction and codependence, compulsivity, any kind of involuntary response to life and problems, is to change your mind about what feelings might mean. It might not be so bad to feel something. I mean, really, you don't shave your goosebumps, right? I know that's really kind of a pathetic metaphor, I suppose, but you really don't. If you have a goosebump, you think about it, and you don't even think about it. You just go get a coat, or you realize that you've got a fever, or else something really cool has just happened. But you know that the feeling states of the skin are good and there's nothing wrong with them. You do things to comfort yourself when you have them. Well, it's really the same with the invisible sort of inner world. You can imagine that actually as an inner body. And if you've been used to being afraid of what it registers, you might ask yourself, what happens if your body doesn't feel, or your skin, or you can't tell whether it's cold or not? And that's sort of what people do sometimes with their feelings. And the real problem with feelings is a lot of them drag a lot of stories with them. So when you feel a certain thing, the story comes dragging up too. And it can come powerfully whether you're really remembering the story or not. And then with the story comes assumptions about what's real and possible and what might happen. You know, like if something bad has happened when you were afraid, and then you don't want it to happen again, then every time you'd feel that, you might experience the map of reality that says, wow, when you feel this, bad things are about to happen, so you've got to not feel this. Well, if bad things are about to happen, and you've got a feeling they're about to happen, you wouldn't want to get rid of the feeling. You might want to change what you're doing, right? But you would have to know that. And it's not like any of us can learn the invisible terrain of our life just by thinking we should, which is sort of another story. So one thing you can do, a little tool, a little dream tool, is the next time you have a feeling that you'd rather not have, maybe you should begin with a feeling that's not totally horrible. You kind of look at it and notice the feeling in your body. It's really important to do that unless you're a ghost. You have a body and your feelings are registering somewhere, even if the way they're registering is numbness. So you look at that, and then maybe you ask yourself, I wonder what that would really look like if I could see it. You know, the right brain sort of responds to images, powerful images, like the ships outside. They're really beautiful, and when I look at them, I think about getting right on one of them and going for a trip. I never do that, but I think about it because it's an image in my mind that is a really nice image. Or you might have like an image of anxiety that's like a whole bunch of fluttering birds in a really tight cage, or a rock sitting on your heart. Whatever, you can use your rib cage in an imaginative way to sort of open up and make space for that. If you make a bigger container for distress, sometimes it's not so intense. Like if you have birds in a tiny cage, they're all fluttering and banging against the side. But if you sort of imagine those birds are in your chest, not a pretty thought, I know, but you could sort of think of your chest as something else, like a big cage, and they're in there and they're really tight. And then you use, in the in-breath, you expand and you make the cage a little bit bigger, and then on the out-breath you blow into the cage, into your image of the rib cage, so that you hold the bigger container. And then you breathe again and make it just a little bit bigger. And then you blow, as if you could hold the edges of the image of the cage so that they're more expansive, you know? But you would have to change your mind about how to work with emotional distress in order to do that. You'd have to be willing to, like, breathe it in and then fill it up. And maybe if birds have a lot of places to fly, they're not a problem. And so you could work with that image until maybe the cage would fall away or be so big that the birds weren't distressed, so that you're working just with the image. And you know, dreams use images a lot, and you can use this kind of little dream tool maybe to work with your own distress. And maybe then your position about distress will change. I don't mean you'll love it, but you might be able to use it to respond more creatively to the future. Anyway, I have to go. Thanks for dropping by. And those ships are still out there. Of course, I don't have a little boat to get to them. At least, well, in my imagination I do.